Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello of hardlensmedia. We are wrapping up the solidarity against white supremacy movement here in the city of Chicago. And I'm joined here today with one of the main organizers who organized this event, which held about 3,000 people. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Andy Thayer, and I'm one of many, many organizers, I should add.
All right, but so essentially during the Facebook live stream, when you were speaking to the crowd, a crowd of 3,000 people, you were basically calling out the fact that Trump and his administration, as well as the corporate media, were basically going along with this idea that there was violence on both sides. What are your thoughts on the fact that this president and his administration are still standing by that comment that there was violence on both sides and that both sides are equally to blame?
Well, it shows just how retrograde they are. It shows how far to the right that American political culture has gone as a whole, because Trump didn't just arise in November. What gave rise to Trumpism has been going on for a long time. I'm talking about record deportations, which is a violent act that were carried out under the previous president. I'm talking, of course, about the Muslim ban, preventing refugees fleeing violence coming here to the United States. And so this is not something that just began November 8th, and to the Democrats who think it did, they need a wake-up call. They clearly don't get it yet. What I was trying to point to in my speech was not so much even the violence on both sides argument, which I think has been pretty roundly answered by people in the streets of Boston and San Francisco and here today in Chicago, that most people don't buy that garbage. It's the argument that both sides should have free speech, that there's the equation of appealing to violence against your fellow human beings, which is what donning a Klan robe, which is giving Sieg Heils, is doing, versus those who are standing up against that violence. And I think that many people, not just on the far right, get this wrong. The corporate media gets it wrong. The ACLU and its national office, but I'm happy to say some local offices are breaking with that, who equate appeals to violence with so-called free speech. You don't have the right to call for fire in a crowded theater. You do not have the right to advocate for killing someone. That is not part of the First Amendment. And those who say it does, really don't understand what free speech is about. I have been organizing against wars in this country and have been in solidarity with those fighting against police brutality against black people. And I can say that the police, the authorities, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, have not been respecting that free speech. Someone like Sandra Bland, whom I referred to in my remarks at the podium, who was killed arguably for using her free speech with a police officer. And as I also pointed out, the vast majority of the history of the United States has been one where black people, when they use free speech, often were rewarded with the end of a rope. So we've had a constant battle for free speech. We had a mass arrest of protesters in this city, the largest mass arrest in Chicago history, and we've had a lot of mass arrests. Just at the start of the Gulf War, the U.S. invasion of Iraq. So it's been a constant battle, and yet you see police officers protecting the so-called free speech of those who quite openly call for killing their fellow human beings. So we need to reframe this whole debate. I think the corporate media most often gets it wrong. I think some liberals get it wrong. I think you see a lot more people in the streets of Boston, San Francisco, and here today, Chicago, who don't buy that argument, and I think that's a healthy development.
All right, and final question, what are your thoughts on protest movements like this as they're gathering in size? Do you think it's going to continue to increase? And also, where can our viewers and subscribers learn more about your organization? Where can they find you on social media?
People can Facebook friend me, Andy Thayer, Thayer. Search for us on Facebook, Gay Liberation Network here in Chicago. Got Facebook page, Facebook group, all that good stuff. I think that this is clearly not the end. The conditions that gave rise to Trumpism are very much alive in this country. The corporate Democrats don't have a clue about it. And so only way I see that changing is by people coming out like they did today. I mean, that's how all great social movements, have changed the national conversation, whether it was Occupy a few years back, the Civil Rights Movement, when both the Dixiecrats, the Democrats of all stripes, as well as the Republicans were against black people's rights. Black people in the streets of the North and South forced the change of that conversation. We're right here in Chicago, scene of the 1968 Democratic National Convention, where both parties were clearly pro-war, and people got their heads busted so as to insist on a very different narrative. And after, unfortunately, 3 million Vietnamese, Cambodians, and Laotians lost their lives, as well as 55,000 Americans, we finally did change that narrative enough to force not only a president from power, but also an end to that war.
All right. Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media. And to all our viewers and subscribers, peace, everyone. Let's all do what we can to build a better future.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.